you. Hi, good evening. Let me start by apologizing to those who came early and we had to start late. Pleased to see you all here. I think the framing of today's discussion has been done quite well. The thing that we are going to talk about is how prepared are we. In earlier discussions, when I was talking about this to someone, they said it looks like everybody is running after AI, not knowing that there is a cliff edge. And if you're not well prepared, that is what is going to happen. So about AI, I don't want to talk about that AI has become a mainstay and how important it is. Everybody is doing something or the other with AI. And today, the adoption of AI is really accelerating. And again, we all know that every one of you would be doing some project or the other in the company, no doubt about it. But the thing that I want to really point out is, again, in terms of our preparedness for that. So one distinct feature of AI is, unlike the previous digital waves of cloud and mobile and SaaS, those helped us to scale transactions. AI will scale decisions. I think that is a very fundamental shift that we all need to understand. The second is, the AI is going to amplify the data gravity issue. We all know that the data is there everywhere, but it's hard to move the data around. But AI will require the data movement, and that will amplify the data gravity issue. The third thing is, AI is going to amplify, if today there is a human-machine interactions, the AI is going to force a lot of machine-to-machine interactions 100 times more. So in the voice AI, for example, what we launched, if a voice AI is receiving a call from a customer, in the course of the conversation of voice AI, we are seeing that a number of tool calling are happening during the conversation. And it's fetching the information to prepare the context, it's fetching the information to prepare and give the answer. So it is multiplying the amount of tool calling, APIs that are going to happen. And we already see that multiplying. So there are three things. One is to remember that AI is going to scale decisions, and we already see that. We are using AI to, with human in the loop, but going forward, with agentic AI, we're going to allow the AI to make more and more decisions. So AI will scale decisions as opposed to the past era of the systems scaling transactions. The second is the data gravity issue is going to be amplified. And the third, of course, is this. Now, for those reasons, I don't think we can think about AI as just another application wave. And again, if you look at the AI architecture, when you look at the systems, we have to take more of a platform approach to AI, and that is certainly what we advocate, and that's the reason why we also invested and acquired this AI platform company called Commotion. Models are available. There are a number of models available. You can replace one model with the other that has the intelligence. But what really brings value to that model is the context that you give to that model. So that context layer that you build, and context is nothing but, and to give that context, you need to unify data from multiple sources. You need to bring data from multiple channels. If the customer has come through the web, has he had a WhatsApp interaction? Has he had prior voice interactions in your contact center? So all of that is context. And that context is what is going to give the model the requisite intelligence, and keeping that context during the voice call for a longish period is what will make sure that the models don't drift and it remains accurate and it can deliver the outcomes that you want, right? And the layer above that is going to be all agentic AI, and that's the, if you think, the system of records, system of engagement, and what we call as an AI operating system will have to remain on top of that, and that will have this. And all of this is going to put a lot of pressure on latency, accuracy, governance, and those. So in my opinion, it's for the first time, and that's the reason why I'm saying that we should not think of adoption of AI as just another wave. I think it's for the first time that compute, data, networks, and security must work as one system, or everything will fail. Right? It's not just one thing will fail, because if you're going to start relying on your AI, and if your latency fails, if latency drops below 100 milliseconds, the customer experience is going to suffer. If you don't bring the context, the accuracy of what AI produces, regardless of how good the underlying LLM is, it will not produce the right results. And of course, it will expose to a lot of other security issues. So I think this is an important point I want to make from a scaling the challenge point, scaling AI. How do we think of AI as a holistic platform with context and these layers and the governance all built together, rather than looking at every AI as individual projects? And how to look at the entire underlying infrastructure to see how we make that to work in unison as opposed to in silos. That is going to be a big challenge to scale the AI. Now, what are today's challenges? I mean, these are not AI specific. We already see these challenges in customers. So when you look at the infrastructure, we all know that all the applications, users are all very distributed today. Today's infrastructure is really shaped by years of OEM specific technologies in multiple domains. So if you look at your LAN, that will be one OEM technology. You have SD-WAN, will be another technology. And if you look at wide area network, the firewalls in the LAN, firewalls in your, in the wide area network, firewalls in the cloud. There is a sprawl of multiple OEM technologies, and each of these are islands by themselves, and they are fragmented. And also these are fairly rigid in terms of its architecture. They are not elastic, they are not agile. And that is what we are dealing with today, right? So it's not tomorrow. And the second is, when it comes to data, largely, in most places, the data is more optimized for reporting, and it's not optimized for continuous inferencing and enhancing that intelligence on an ongoing basis. Even today, multi-cloud is what most people are dealing with for something or the other. So if you're using SaaS products, Teams and other things, or by definition, most people are already in multi-cloud. And when you're in multi-cloud, they all have their own nuances. Each of the cloud have different constructs. They also have different security models. All of them are, again, they're all islands by themselves again. And the data is going to require a lot more of seamless movement and more secure transportation. And today, in connecting to all the cloud networking is highly, highly manual. And those are some of the challenges that we see in the data and the cloud space. And lastly, on the governance. I think even now, we have the threat vectors multiplying, and it's far too many. Security is largely reactive, where it places emphasis on how do I detect and how quickly I can detect and how quickly I can mitigate. And it's not really always on. I can't, and finally, on the other aspect of the governance is, the whole GDPR and DPDP acts require even governance to be more dynamic. It's no longer a static, you state a policy and hope that those policy settings will determine the governance. Some of these require more real-time governance to ensure consent, for example. All of that governance needs to be more on a real-time basis and not set as a policy at one time. So all these will focus to really rethink our digital foundation more holistically. And on this infrastructure, which in my opinion is already highly fragmented and fragile, we are just managing to keep them all together. If you add the AI, the complexity is going to multiply several fold. Across all of these, if you look at the purely just the compute, I think that the data volumes are going to be dramatically increasing. And there are studies that shows it's going to be a 100-fold increase in the data. Similarly, on the network, AI fuel traffic is going to be a lot more. And as I said, especially on the network side, I talked about how one voice call is initiating a number of tool calls and API calls to answer that. The east-west traffic is really going to explode. And that is going to be a dramatic increase. And some of these calls that AI is going to have is going to require more persistent connections as opposed to short duration connections. And that is going to put a lot more stress on the edge. It's going to put a lot more stress on your load balancers. And even now, with a few agents and a few processes that people have put in AI, you can start to see the stress. But once you start deploying at scale, the stress will get amplified. Also, the AI traffic is going to be a lot more bursty. It's going to be a lot more unpredictable. Again, taking from our examples of some of the pilots that we are running on our own platform of the Commotion for CIS, we see that the inbound calls are somewhat predictable. But the outbound calls, the success of those outbound calls, we are noticing that it's only during certain duration the outbound calls are successful. So that is going to be very bursty on certain duration of the time. So your infrastructure is going to be having to take into account this nature of AI being bursty. Other thing about AI is inferences can't wait. Right? So I think and especially in the customer experience side, if you look at the latency is a problem. But more importantly, latency variance is going to be a bigger problem than latency itself, if you know what I mean, right? And to make sure that your network and your infrastructure can address that, because one of the things that we're seeing is our voice model, for example, we are saying that it can deliver latency, very good latency. We have best in class in the world today to deliver the latency. But if the latency goes above 100 milliseconds, for example, in a voice AI call, you're going to see the drops. Customers are going to drop out. So that's going to translate into poor customer experience. And finally, the APIs, I already mentioned that that's going to be an explosion of APIs. More than 30% of all API demands are going to come from LLM-driven services. And this is going to expose again a threat vector that is going to be massive. So in the AI era, I think the issue for us is going to be that so far we've been talking about it as digital foundation. I think in the AI era, the digital foundation is no longer invisible. It will become visible in some form or the other. And it will be visible in the form of latency translating to poor experiences. It is going to be visible in the form of cost and cost explosions. And it will be visible in the form of trust when it comes to governance, both on security, data privacy and protection, and how much believable your AI is going to be. All of that is going to be an issue. So I think the one biggest takeaway for me in this is that in the AI world, what we thought as a digital foundation that is working silently beneath is going to become a lot more visible if not managed properly. And therefore, what in Tata Communications we advocate is an approach of an architectural foundation that views all of these as a digital fabric, where a digital fabric unifies, secures, controls all of these domains in a very elegant fashion. So that's what our digital fabric vision is, and we are bringing that about through various products and services, unified across network, cloud, edge. It's secure by design rather than security being bolted on. And to being able to control, and to be able to control, first you need to have full visibility and observability across all these domains. And then you have to be able to see how I can influence the configuration across all these domains in a way that is uniformly applied across. And then you will be able to control it. And you would have to bring a lot more AI-driven automation to this so that the management of that is really uncomplicated, and we allow the customers then to innovate faster on that. So that's what our digital fabric does. And today, in order to strengthen this digital fabric, we are launching 3 new products which will strengthen this foundation. The first one is the ISO Plus multi-cloud network. It's really a product. We all know every cloud, and I mentioned that every cloud has its own construct, its own nuances to connect and secure. What multi-cloud networking does is essentially make the multiple clouds behave like one. So we've abstracted all the cloud complexities and cloud networking complexities and put that in this platform so that it's easier to connect, it's faster to deploy, and will have complete visibility of the cost that you have, because there are a lot of hidden costs in cloud networking. All of that is what we would address through the multi-cloud networking. The second product is the Edge Distribution Platform, and as it says, it's a combination of several technologies coming together. It essentially brings performance and protection closer to the user and closer to the AI. And that in essence is what it does. For a lot of web-facing applications, this is a big challenge to be able to ensure that the right latency, the right experience is given to the users, and also how you protect that on an ongoing basis. Basically what our customers would want is, they don't care whether it's edge or cloud or networking. They want to wake up in the morning and make sure that, hey, was my service delivering the right performance, and did it stay up, and it's always protected. That's what they care about, and that is what this does. And we also say that this is an always-on protection. And I think when we explain the product more, Vaibhav will elaborate that. But I thought that the difference between the reactive protection is the way we do now. In the reactive mode, you protect the network. In an always on mode, we protect the network and we protect the experience as well. And finally, ThreadSpan is a product that's sitting across all these domains. Each of the domains are the network fabric, the cloud fabric, the interaction fabric, the IoT fabric. All of them are powerful on their own. And if each one of these are components, ThreadSpan will make it work like a system all together. Again, the things that it promotes are observability, manageability, configurability. And in essence, what these three things do is to help you to connect, protect, and control in the most elegant fashion, in the most efficient fashion that you would like. So each one of these products, if you look at multi-cloud networking, it brings more predictable network performance, visibility across the cloud, visibility of cost. To turn up this cloud network is quite simple. You can declare the intent and it will produce the network for you. And it will also ensure that there is a geo-ring-fencing on the cloud to ensure that you are protected from a data sovereignty perspective. And the edge distribution platform, it will ensure that you have very low latency on the application and will ensure the data protection and the security that you require. I think the best part of this is most players will not give you SLAs and we will give you SLAs, and again we'll talk more about this in the detailed presentation. ThreadSpan, as I said, this is the one that unifies all of it, brings the visibility across, as well as the manageability and configurability across these domains of LAN, WAN, cloud, edge, security, all of that, it brings all of them together. And by virtue of the fact that it abstracts multiple OEM complications, again abstracted above, we can ensure that the security policies, for example, you set it once and it will get cascaded across your domains in a consistent fashion. But most security vulnerabilities today also happen because of the gaps in how you apply the policies as opposed to anything else. So this will eliminate those kind of challenges. So these three products put together, as I said, strengthens the digital foundation and the fabric. And the goal essentially is to see how we connect, protect, and control and give all this to our customers in the most elegant fashion.
The world is accelerating. Are you ready to handle it? The future demands more. First, we rebuild the foundation. One network, all clouds. Order from complexity. Then we prepare it for the real world. Speed without vulnerability. Resilience at the edge. Finally, we give it intelligence. From reactive to predictive. Three innovations. One transformation. digital continuum. The future is built to move.
Thank you.